You are about to witness bodily dismemberment, sub-zero temperatures, and all-out mayhem. Brought to you by the Frontline Network.
Sup, COH fans, and welcome to the 13th Company of Heroes 2 beta cast, brought to you by the Frontline Network, presented by me, FatalSaint, and my good friend Tommy. What's up, Tommy?
What's up, Fatal? I am so happy to be back into the driving seat for Company of Heroes 2 because the open beta has now landed. It landed just yesterday. We're recording this on the 5th of June. It arrived on Tuesday, the 4th of June, about 6 o'clock in the evening. They rolled out a brand new client with a brand new game, full of a whole bunch of new changes, with more balance changes promised to come later on this week. Hopefully by the time that you're watching this on Friday, they'll roll out some of those balance changes, but they are constantly updating it. And well, I'm really excited now because we're getting very, very close to the retail release.
Yeah, retail release is slated to hit at the 25th of June, so not too far away from that right now. So this open beta, you gotta get your hours in, so you're on top of your game when they actually decide to release the game at the 25th of June. It's gonna be good. But yeah, the changelog for just the open beta patch and what's to come, etc., it's all looking very good, and there's quite a lot of stability fixes as well. You know, it's just generally good. So I think the game runs fairly smooth. I got a new graphics card, and I've started streaming actually with the open beta now as the NDA has been released. So if you haven't seen us there, go check out our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/the Frontline Network. You can also find it on our YouTube channel page. It says Twitch, you just click that. Even though they will be changing the YouTube channel page now to this one, the one channel or whatever they call it. They've dubbed it on YouTube. So it'll look a little bit different, but there'll still be links. So go check out our channels if you haven't done that already after you watch this video. But today we have a game on Kolodny from a battlefield, and it's going to be between Seb, good old Vico Pro, versus who's he playing as versus actually?
He's playing our colorful friend, bigger, blacker swastika.
Sounds like a euphemism to me.
Yeah. We
strange.
probably should dig too much into the potential meanings of that.
But Seb, Company of Heroes 2 and Seb, I'm looking forward to this game, and he's going to be playing as the Soviets versus the Oster, obviously, and he will be playing from the right-hand side of Kolodny. You ready to go, Tommy?
I'm ready.
At the 5-second mark, and pause in 3, 2, 1, and pause. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And yeah, as I mentioned, I've been streaming quite a bit, and I played a game against Perlictor yesterday, 2 games against Paper Plane. Perlictor promptly handed my ass to myself in a box. That was very fun. Good old Pearly, very good Vico player. We haven't featured him a lot on TFN, but I think he made it into a replay or two for Vico.
Yeah, we've had him on a couple of times. I mean, it's just funny seeing Seb play again because he's been relatively off the COH radar for quite some time. For those of you that don't know who Seb is, he was actually the first expert that we had on for our first episode of Expert Insight for Season 2 of Frontline Fatalities. You can go check that out. I think it was
episode 17? Was that it?
Yeah, actually, you've got a good memory. I think it was Barton versus DevM.
Something like that. Yeah.
It was a very cool game. Seb, previous multiple-time tournament winner, 1v1 and 2v2, and a very accomplished player in his own right. But hasn't been seen playing a whole lot of COH lately. So I believe he sort of posted this game up as one of his first Company of Heroes 2 games that he has actually played to date, and I believe he was actually asking for some advice.
Yeah, you know, that's not something you expect from a high-caliber player like Seb, but you know, it's Company of Heroes 2 does not equal Company of Heroes 1. There's 2 different armies, even though some of the units in the Oster army is same as the Wehrmacht. Like you have the vehicles like the Flammenwerfer, the Half-Track, the P4, the Ostwind. Those units are similar. Obviously, the stats are not exactly the same, and you know, you just don't have the same build orders anymore. Company of Heroes 2 is just different in its own way to Company of Heroes 1. But we do have conscripts coming up for Seb. 2 conscripts completed. A third one is cooking right now. So he might go for something that is similar to a Vico build of the US faction, which would be going for conscripts, for example, as for rifles.
Yeah, because those conscripts, they're sort of quite good at flanking. They've got good mobility, especially when you throw in that Ura ability where they can go very quick. And they tend to be. I'm still not quite sure about the dynamics of it, but in terms of grenadiers versus conscripts, conscripts tend to do a little bit better at close range. I guess due to the fact that they just have more rifles, but they're more inaccurate. So obviously you can close that gap.
Just more men firing compared to the 4-man grenadier squad. You got 6 rifles on your conscripts, so if you get nice and close, and you got some good accuracy from short range combat, that's gonna be good. I saw him actually put up something that we haven't seen that much, and I've rarely seen it when I've been streaming yesterday either versus opponent. He actually built the sandbags with his conscripts at the center VP.
Yes, I noticed that. There was an interesting use of those sandbags.
Oh, here's a nice use of Ura for one of the conscript squad, flanking this MG, which is pinning those same conscripts that built that sandbag wall, and a nice Molotov. So he actually went 3 conscripts into Molotov tick. So that MG is nice and toasty right now, and he's going to be forced to retreat. But it took quite a lot of casualties, and his conscript squad at the sandbags are still actually pinned, just turned into suppressed instead, and now standing up on their feet again. We do have a combat engineer in the north as well. What is the Oster player doing? What's his build order like?
So far, he went for the 2 pioneer opening, sorry, and he's followed that up with a Gren and an MG, and so far has nothing cooking yet. Although he is floating almost 400, just past 400 manpower now.
It might be bissing and micring in these engagements with the MG now and the Gren and Pio versus 2 conscript here. And it looks to me that like the German forces are actually going to be able to beat out these 2 conscripts. One of them was very damaged health-wise, so they took quite a lot of casualties quite rapidly. But yeah, I think combined with the pioneers here, these conscripts are going to be forced away as well. Nice Molotov thrown. He retreats through the flame, but both of the German squads retreat as well. So everybody's going to live and actually return home to be reinforced. But look at the battlefield right now. It's completely abandoned. There's one combat engineer from Seb in the left-hand side, at left-hand side north VP. But that's it. There's nothing else on the field.
Yeah, I mean, it was all just battling around with these Molotovs down here in the south, and they were brutal, those Molotovs. And actually, something worth noticing is that they actually give friendly fire to the conscript squad that throws them. Unlike back in Vico, if a unit threw a grenade, it would be invulnerable to the splash damage of its own grenade. But here, obviously, you can see we saw plenty of conscripts go up in flames there in an extremely brutal and slightly bone-chilling, screaming fashion as well.
Yeah, you gotta love the audio, all the recordings for all of the units. There's some of them are extremely funny as well. I got snow in my pants and whatever else the conscripts say. And it's just like, so you say, so you want me to fix this for you, how? Just take the snow out of your pants then, I guess.
It was the unit phrases in Vico are some of the best things, like even just fairly recently, I was playing. I was doing some testing, I think, in a CPU AI game, and if you take a British Tommy squad and you click on them several times, they'll say something like, "Excuse me, sir, would you mind not clicking on me?"
It kind of takes you back like Warcraft 3. I remember that, or Warcraft 1 actually as well. They had quite a lot of these things, especially when you actually install the game, you can do an audio test. If you did an audio test too many times, it would basically tell you it doesn't get much better than this. Large engagement, nice Molotov on the MG, it's just sitting in the flame, but with this half-track now, I guess the Oster player went for a fast tier 2. Is that why he was floating manpower before?
Yes, he only went for a 3-unit tier 1, which is interesting.
That is small.
Going for 2 grenadiers and an MG, and then he's straight into tier 2 with a half-track now, and an armored car has just hit the field as well, or rather a scout car, in fact.
Scout car, yeah. We did have another Pio. 2 Pios went down there in that engagement around the Soviet cutoff on the center of Kolodny, so 2 units down for the Oster player compared to Seb, who is still he still has 4 conscripts and he's building an additional combat engineer right now, most likely to maybe continue ticking in his base, build tier 2 maybe against these vehicles from the Oster player to counter them and get an AT gun, for example. Yeah, Flammenwerfer now on this half-track. Very common build order now for Oster players, always to rush that Flammenwerfer. Spend all of your early game munitions to get the Flammenwerfer upgrade on your half-track, and it does a tremendous amount of damage, and with veterancy it becomes slightly broken, I have to say. I still say they need to tweak that Flammenwerfer quite a bit.
Yeah, the Flammenwerfer is definitely one of the most potent early game units so far, and I think, you know, this Austria player needs it because he's lost an awful lot of territory. Seb's really been doing a good job of the macro hit, keeping on top of the capping, and he's even laying wire now. If you check out in the far north, we've got a combat engineer here. Half of them are dead.
Yeah,
and
it took MG flak from the bunkers.
Yeah. But there, he's trying to cut off all. Actually, he's laid quite a lot of wire around here. He's cut off most of the routes, most of the capping routes to actually go into that top sector.
Yeah, Seb is doing exactly what I thought. His tier 2 building is under construction in the base, and he's most likely going to go for an AT gun perhaps to counter these vehicles from the German player. Right now that Flammenwerfer is a huge threat, but the good thing, however, is that he had AT nades and damaged the engines on both of the vehicles, so they're very slow now, especially during a blizzard. At the same time, he did manage to polish off both of the Pios in the prior engagement to the Flammenwerfer popping the tech and the vehicle itself. So I guess he was forced to rebuild at least one Pio.
He was indeed forced to rebuild a whole Pioneer squad just to get up here and repair this Flammenwerfer. But never underestimate the damaged engine Flammenwerfer. I believe we even casted a game when I think we saw Flammenwerfer get a damaged engine, and then his opponent just kept on suiciding units to try and kill it because it was moving so slowly. It was just sitting there. But it takes so many AT nades if you're using nothing else to kill a half track that it just absolutely racked up the kills.
Yeah, AT nades are best used in combination with other weaponry or other vehicles. Say you got a T-34, the Flammenwerfer can pretty much just run away from it, especially on road bonuses and whatnot. But if you throw an AT nade on it and damage its engine, it's not going to be able to outrun the T-34, so then you can chase it and kill it. At the same time, you can trap it somehow with AT nades, damage the engine, which maybe buys your AT gun just enough time to get at least one more shot off and then finishing it off. We did have actually one of the Flamer combat engineers from Seb go down to that very same Flammenwerfer, which is now just wreaking havoc everywhere. Look at these conscripts.
Oh, that was absolutely brutal. One of the biggest, most powerful things about this Flammenwerfer is not just that its base damage is so high, but that its damage against units that are retreating is also so incredibly high.
It needs a retreat modifier versus flame weaponry. I think that would be an outright good balance change. You've seen it on the Soviet side with the KV-8 flamethrower tank as well. If you get caught with your pants down and you have nothing to, block the KV-8 from pursuing your retreating units, it's going to torch you to death. There's just no way you're going to survive. Even if you got a mint Pigren squad with Shreks or something, you get 2 shots off and then instantly retreat. It's just going to chase you down and basically torch you on the way back to base, and you're going to lose that squad. Because flamethrower weapons just do so much damage to even retreating units. I'm okay with the damage, but first it needs to have some form of a retreat modifier so it doesn't become, just a chase weapon that kills everything on retreat.
Did you see that capping move there that Seb did? He actually did a full wraparound. Even though the Austria player had taken his direct cutoff, he took the Austria player's cutoff and just went all the way around it. And for a couple of seconds there, he'd actually connected that bottom fuel.
Yeah, he is still cut off, however, and Austria actually took his own cutoff to cut Seb off from that wraparound connection with territories. But Seb is still in possession of the fuel on the north, and we did just have a conscript squad go down to a Flammenwerfer on pursuit. Things like that are just not supposed to happen. I think he retreated it at 6 men as well.
Well, it's first shots fired onto this half-track. We had the Soviet AT gun open up with a big hit, but not before the half-track had actually managed to chase down and eliminate in its entirety a poor conscript squad on retreat. Yeah,
and now with the half-track at Vet 2, he actually gets a reduction to damage taken, I think, or if it's accuracy, let's see what it is on Vet 2 here. Significantly reduces damage taken, not accuracy, so it's damage taken, which means technically it gets more HP.
Yeah, it's an effective HP bonus, and then if you look at the Vet 3 as well, it increases weapon damage. Oh, that is going to be brutal.
Yeah. The thing is not very bad at dealing damage as it is mint. With the Vet 3, it just does a tremendous amount of damage. I used one myself in one game when I was streaming and actually playing with Spanky, and that thing just ripped everything to shreds. It just burned everything to a crisp.
So he finally got the Austere player now, is just managing to take back a bit of territory that he lost after a very aggressive capping strategy from Seb so early on. And with a lot of Seb's units going down, and now he's sort of staying in a fairly low tech. He's even got himself a mortar, one of the unique units of the Soviet army, to have this 6-man mortar squad, which can defend itself as well as it can shell enemy positions.
Yeah, it'll be good against all of these garrisoning units. The center building, the little church-type building, actually has an MG in it now from the Austere player, so he needs to get rid of that. And without snipers, he does have Molotovs, but especially when that building is being guarded by a Flammenwerfer, you need something else so you can take it out from a long range away. And that did a whole lot of damage, that mortar shell. It took out half the roof of that building in one shell. Bullseye hit. We do have the mortar now moving up to shell the enemy position. The building actually went down with the MG in it, and the pack is moving up. I'm not exactly sure what he will be shooting at. We did have the tier 3 building completed in Seb's base, and he's building a T-34. What do you think about the T-34s, Tommy?
What do I think of T-34s?
Yeah.
Well, they are. Well, I mean, they're extremely well-rounded tanks. They're sort of like the upgun Shermans of the old game, in that they can sort of tackle anything, but they're not great at anything.
Yeah, jack of all trade units that, you know, it's kind of okay against whatever you're sent it at. But
it
at the same time,
nothing, but good at everything. But it is very, very useful as just a platform to use that ram ability, because the ram ability is so powerful. Oh, check out that nice bundle nade! Whoa, very nice bundle nade on a conscript squad there in the middle from a P-Gran.
Yeah, surprising amount of low damage. We have a T-70 in production as well. That little light tank in the Soviet arsenal. That's going to be good for chasing down this scout car and the Flammenwerfer. And combined with the T-34 on the field as well, that's going to be plenty. The scout car rushes headfirst into the AT gun, but here comes the Flammenwerfer on the flank right now, and everything from Seb's army is retreating as both of his Vet 2 conscript squads are down to 1 man each. But here comes the T-34 now. The pack is still back in the center. He is rushing up to the front. But look at that Vet 2 damage reduction. The increased...
Was that a direct hit? That must have been a missed hit from the T-34,
must have been a
surely.
splash hit from the T-34, I think, because it does quite low damage when it's Vet 2, but not that low. Whoa, P-Gran squad.
Gets finished off. Yeah. But now the pack's opening up. He's now finally got something to shoot at in the form of this T-34 there, which took one nice frontal hit.
Before the fog of war came back and actually stopped him from firing more at that T-34, even though it was in range. It was in the fog of war as the P-Gran guy went down. That was giving the line of sight on the tank itself. We have a combat engineer squad on the left-hand side, just grabbing the VP. Looking at the VPs, Seb is sitting comfortably at 500 compared to his opponent at 274. It's not good. He needs VPs, desperately.
Got usage of Ura here on this Vet 2 conscript squad, taking a lot of damage though from these MP44 armed P-Grans, and it actually kills another conscript squad. So that's 2 gone down in just the last couple of minutes. A lot of conscript losses. Seb might want to... Has he picked a doctrine yet?
He has not. He is almost at 4 CPs as well, so he could go with anything. He could get shock troopers, he could get guards, he could get anything he really wanted actually, but he hasn't chosen a doctrine yet.
Interesting, because a lot of Soviet players tend to be of the opinion, at least at the moment, that the doctrine is sort of an integral part of your strategy, because you need those guards or those shock troops or whatever it is that you picked, because those elite troops are sort of needed to scale against these Panzer Grenadiers that we've seen are just incredibly powerful with those MP44s.
Yeah, they're really good against conscripts especially. They do a tremendous amount of damage with their STG-44s, and conscripts just can't stand up to them. Maybe if you get the PPSHs on them and use what's it called, the ability hit the deck, whatever it's called, I can't remember what it is now. Hit the dirt. Hit the dirt.
That's the one.
That's it, yeah. If you use that, you can go up against the P-Grans, but without that, especially without PPSHs, the puny rifles on the conscripts just can't handle the Panzer Grenadiers. They do a lot of damage, and they can take a lot of damage as well, so Here we do have a Faust on a Vet 1 Gren used at the T-70, damaging the engine, but it is nonetheless forced to retreat after that. It is sniping infantry. Quite good, actually. Looks to me that Seb has stabilized after losing quite a lot of units. He did manage to decrew the pack in the center as well, so he could steal that for himself if he needs to, but he does still have the Soviet AT gun, and he has the T-34 and the T-70. Both kind of need a little bit of repairs, and we did have his doctrine choice now, which actually allows him to get the KV-8 and IS-2. He also could get shock troopers. I'm not exactly sure if he might be waiting now to recap the fuel here in the north center part of the map, get a better fuel income. I think the KV-8 is 120 fuel and 440 manpower, and that thing will torch everything in the Austere arsenal, just like the Flammenwerfer. But we do have a Stug out now.
Yes, there is a Stug out, one of my favorite units in CRX2. It just has so much. I was watching it crush that fire, thinking it was going to get a damaged engine, because for those of you that didn't see our closed beta casts, one of the features of the closed beta was that a tank running over a campfire would get an engine fire critical.
Yeah,
which
temporary damaged engine, basically.
Yeah, which, while amusing, was quite frustrating.
Very, very frustrating, as it seemed that the tanks, their only purpose in life was to run over every single fireplace they could find on the map. Every single time they get the opportunity to do so, they would hit a fire and get that damaged engine, and it would just frustrate you, really.
So it's heavy, heavy blizzard now, and it looks like the Austere player is going to use this blizzard as an opportunity to actually advance, but he needs to be careful, though. This Stug taking a lot of flak now, walking straight into the jaws of death. I don't know where he's going, and it goes out of control.
Flammenwerfer is coming in on the flank, but there is now 2 T-34s for Seb. His defensive line is quite sturdy, and he just unlocked the IS-2 as well, but he cannot afford it right now, but he could possibly get one very, very soon. We did have a pack he's opening up on the T-34s, and that Flammenwerfer is still alive. How is it still alive? There it goes.
Because it's Med 2.
Yeah, insane Med 2.
The Austere player is now very low on units. He's down to just 3 units, in fact. One double Panzerschreck armed P-Gran, a regular Grenadier, and a pack. And he's now about to get flanked here, actually, by this little T-70 light tank.
The Shrek's easily going to be able to handle that if he gets some nice hits off. Look at that. Shrek does almost 30-40% damage in one shot to the T-70. Ooh, but one of them misses actually on long range. There we go, nice hit again, and that T-70 needs help now. But these T-34s, one of them has actually backed away and is being repaired as this T-70 explodes after being taken out by that double Panzer-Schrecked up P-Gran squad.
Just 2 units left for the entire Austere army now. It's going to take
Ouch.
quite the comeback to gain back the territory necessary to pull a win out of this one. And in fact, if you look at the VPs now, Seb's still sitting on a clean sheet of 500 VPs while his opponent ticks down. Soon going to be dipping below the magical 100 VP mark.
Yeah, even though that Flammenwerfer really, really killed a lot of Soviet units for Seb, the Austere player never got a chance to completely stabilize. He had a nice defensive perimeter in the center, but he didn't really get any capping done during that time. And then Seb made the comeback again and, you know, got onto the field and made a defensive line of his own. So, you know, that's the main problem right now. You gotta have some nice defenses, but at the same time, you just gotta cap all game long. You gotta cap.
Yeah, capping is the name of the game. It was in the last game, and it still is now. There's a nice bundle. Oh, if only those engineers hadn't moved.
Yeah, he only took 1 casualty as the T-34 that was getting repaired actually backed away and pushed them out of the way from the bundle nade explosion radius. A little bit lucky there. 1 T-34 is now fully repaired, and the other one is getting repaired again after taking several hits from the Panzerschrecks on the P-Grans. Why doesn't my T-34 survive that long? They just die like they have paper armor or something.
Yeah, as soon as Shrek show up in my games, my T-34s just melt to waves of Shreks. That just everything just hits, and they all just die horribly.
The
Down
big
to
boss.
18 DPs now.
Yeah, the big boss of the Soviet armor, the IS-2, the Soviet army's big beast tank is on the field.
Damn, that thing looks pretty sweet indeed. I mean,
It's
just
gonna
look at
be
that.
able
The
to
turret
make.
looks so incredibly oversized.
Yeah.
It's almost comical.
It's gonna be able to make somewhat of a dent in the already decimated austere armory. I see that he actually has a sniper on the field now. Interesting.
He does. He's been popping away, but I don't think a sniper is really what he needs in this circumstance. Sniper's good for decoying support weapons and stuff like that, but right now he just needs more infantry out on the field. He needs more boots on the ground, and I don't think he has what he needs to pull a win out of this one.
He needs to cap. He actually decapped one of the VPs in the north, but never capped it for himself, and he's going after another VP in the north as well with his Pio squad here, and he's going for the center VP as well with his Vet 2 Grenadier squad. But at the same time, with this IS-2 combined with 2 T-34s now against 2 Shreks, that's basically it. He's got no pack anymore, he's got no nothing, no AT forces apart from these Shreks, and that's just not going to be enough against 3 tanks. No way, Jose.
No way, Jose. Oh no, the Axis sniper can even wipe the dust.
Gets crushed. And I believe that 12 VPs.
Yeah, the LCF player leaves.
Yeah, he drops as he knows that game is pretty much over. He was capping the north VP with one of the Pios, but at 12 VPs and he's getting forced off the center. Seb could easily relocate everything up to the north and just cap the VPs and drain the final 12 VPs. So nice comfortable win for Seb at 500 compared to his opponent 12 before he dropped. I don't know, he did some good things, I think. He kept taking during the game. He had yeah, compared to Seb, his unit preservation was kinda equal. They lost a few units here and there, both of them. But you know, he put up something that I don't see a lot of players doing, but you can get kinda like a triage as the austere players as well. You build a bunker and make that into a medic bunker, which doesn't actually pick up corpses, it heals your units. And Seb actually did the same thing. I think he went 3 conscripts, Molotov into a 4th conscript, and then he got healing as well at his HQ. So healing up your troops is always a good idea.
Yeah, it was a sort of a heavy conscript build. It's a build that we've seen used a lot ever since we started doing our beta shoutcast. We've seen sort of people who get 4, 5, maybe more conscripts, and then go all out on the tier 0 upgrades, which is like the medic upgrade and the 18 aids and the Molotovs.
Yeah.
And you know, theoretically, you have everything that you need right there. It's just when you have an army that consists of nothing but conscripts and engineers in the opening minutes, it can be quite tricky when taking on a combined arms approach. But we saw here it did in fact work, and it caught out the fast teching Ost here quite nicely.
Yeah, his army was too small to handle the pressure, I think. And then he made somewhat of a comeback when his tier 2 units started hitting, especially the Flammenwerfer. But after that, you know, he lost the grasp of the game again and started losing units. And when most of them went down, his army was so small he could never make a comeback, even though the upkeep system most likely gave him somewhat of a chance. But Seb was, you know, his army was just way too big anyway. He had 3 tanks now in the end, compared to the austere player who had, what, 4 units. One of them a sniper,
Absolutely,
2 Grens, and a Pio. It's just not enough. It's never going to be enough. So, good
no.
game. Nicely played from the good old Vico expert Seb. And thanks, guys, for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like this video. And tell your friends. And we'll see you guys for the next episode.
See you guys.